from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Work in Washington continues on the president's nominees. These small Wisconsin town farm fields are about to become big business in agribusiness. Expectations for milk prices from World Dairy Expo.
For the short run, there is some room for optimism right now.
The importance of picking the right hitch pins on Farm Journal College TV, and thoughts from a 4-H dad during National 4-H Week.
Agday, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths in Washington. The slow process of approving nominations for the administration continues to pick up pace. The Senate Ag Committee holding a hearing Thursday on the nomination of Bill Northey and Greg Eibach. Northey tapped for Undersecretary of Farm and Conservation, while Eibach was selected as Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs. Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer thinks these nominations will be confirmed by the end of October. The full Senate confirming Stephen Sinski and Ted McKinney for the USDA earlier this week. Also in Washington, Virginia Representative Bob Goodlatte introducing a newly proposed agriculture guest worker program to the Judiciary Committee this week. The H-2C bill would replace the current H-2A visa and move guest worker oversight to the USDA. It also allows ag employers to apply for year-round workers, something the dairy industry has been asking for.
It needs to go through the House of Representatives. Then we expect the Senate to work on something. Won't be exactly the same. The Senate will take a different approach. But ultimately, if we don't start somewhere and get this process going, then we'll still be talking about it in 2018. And if that's the case, then it could be a few more years before we have the opportunity to pass something.
Need is every bit as great as it has been in past years, maybe even slightly more, right? Just our trend line for demographics, some of our workers are aging out. The demographics of our broader rural community, at least here in Wisconsin and most of the upper Midwest, are such that we don't have a lot of young people left in rural areas. And they're not sticking around for at least ag jobs if they are sticking around at all.
The bill also allowing currently illegal farm workers to participate in the program. The bill is set for markup in committee. A small community in Wisconsin is about to trade its fields of corn and soybeans for a new high-tech manufacturing facility. Taiwanese tech company Foxconn announcing plans to build its new plant in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. The 26,000-person community is about 25 miles south of Milwaukee. Officials say it's going to be a $10 billion investment, including a 20 million square foot campus that may eventually employ 13,000 people.
We are also forming what we call the 8K plus 5G ecosystem, where that you will see we are building a platform. So using this advanced display technology, we are inviting local partners to work with us to develop solutions in innovative learnings, in medical solutions, in what we call advanced manufacturing industry 4.0 solutions, and in the safety and security solutions, in transportations, even including autonomous vehicles. There are so many new devices, new vertical solutions. We're looking for partnership. I think that's where the excitement is. It's not only just $10 billion. After we finish, there will be $30, $40 billion investment in this great county and in this great state.
The Wisconsin legislature approved a $3 billion incentive package for Foxconn. As farmers harvest dicamba-damaged soybeans and track the impact of the issue, the companies that make the chemistry are also seeking answers. Monsanto inviting 60 weed scientists to a meeting to discuss issues with new dicamba herbicide formulations. 35 of those scientists showed up. Ty Witten, Monsanto's crop protection lead, saying they want collaboration and understanding from both sides in order to look for solutions in the middle. During the meeting, one presenter saying volatility does occur, but it's not the primary culprit for the off-target movement. Witten says localized recommendations for using the product will continue to be important. Meanwhile, Indiana is the latest state to consider taking steps to restrict the use of dicamba next year. A newly proposed rule would force anyone purchasing dicamba products in the state to be a certified applicator. The Indiana Pesticide Review Board voting on the rule. Once passed, dicamba will be labeled as a restricted use pesticide. Now, an ag lawyer telling Agday that restricted product use will more than likely be a common theme during 2018.
I think it will be available. I mean, there's certainly talk in the various states and at the EPA about restricting its usage. So I can't imagine that it will be pulled off the market completely since it's been on the market so long, but I could definitely see additional use restrictions placed on it for next year.
Currently, there are at least 4 dicamba lawsuits with plaintiffs suing companies like Monsanto and BASF that manufacture the herbicide. Jansen says while the negligence lawsuits point the finger at major companies, making that case could be a challenge. Harvest rolls on and the pictures are rolling in. Mike Hoffman is sharing those in today's Crop Comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. Brooke Sprung sharing a few pictures of harvest from Missouri. A painted sky. The backdrop as USDA says 44% of corn and 13% of beans are harvested there. Corn is 9 points behind the 5-year average. Brooke says they're also seeding rye into fields behind the combine. And take a look at this harvest photo from the Vermilion and District Housing Foundation in Alberta, Canada. They took 11 residents out to a harvest dinner. The combine operator stopped, shared a meal, and told his visitors how farming has changed since the good old days. They say the chicken was fresh, the buns and jam were homemade, and the day was perfect. Looks perfect. And taking a look at the drought monitor, that's not perfect, but there's really only a few terrible, very dry areas anyway across the country. We'll take a closer look at that and have your forecast coming up in a few minutes. First, here are some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
When we come back, more from World Dairy Expo, including our own Betsy Gibbon, getting analyst thoughts on milk prices. And later, it's National 4-H Week. I'll share my thoughts on what it means to be a 4-H dad.
Agday, brought to you by Liberty Herbicide, the simply better solution for superior weed control and a stronger yield.
In agribusiness, a lot of green on the commodity board and stocks are on track for fresh records. So how did it all finish? We get details from the floor of the CME.
We're looking at the grains here. December corn started a little bit softer on today's open, but regaining some strength here in the afternoon session as some reports come out that there may be some delays within the harvest. Now moving on to the soybeans, they look a little bit more friendly. They held trendline support from the August lows yesterday very, very well. That came in at about 953, and that being able to hold invited some buyers into the market today. So we're looking at the next level to the upside, 976 to 977. This is a 200-day moving average, as well as a 50% retracement from the June lows to the July highs. So this is a significant level for us. Until we get any new news, I expect to see this market kind of trade in that 20-25 cent range. Live cattle, feeder cattle, and the lean hog market all trading very friendly here for a Thursday, trading a little bit higher. I want to start focusing in on the live cattle, aka the fats. We're looking at the December contract. Yes, October is still trading, but December is going to be where you're going to get majority of the volume and therefore a little bit better of a market. We've seen cash trade fairly steady this week, so not a whole lot on the fundamental side. Now, as far as the feeder cattle are concerned, a little bit of a different story. We're still watching that gap to fill from a couple weeks ago. For the November contract, that comes in at 155.90. I think we go fill that gap eventually and then retreat lower towards the bottom end of the range, about 151 to 152. Wrapping things up with the lean hog market, it's been on a tear since last Friday, and the momentum buyers have really enjoyed a strong rally throughout the week with no let up. So we're looking at, that's what you should be looking at too. This has been Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures from the floor of the CME.
The USDA is rolling out its September Class 3 milk price this week at $16.36 per hundred. It's down more than 20 cents from August and 3 cents lower than last year. Now, so far, Class 3 prices have averaged $16.12 this year. Class 4 prices in September falling 75 cents to $15.86. Betsy Gibbon has more on price expectations from the World Dairy Expo in Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm here with Mike North over with Commodity Risk Management Group. Mike, let's talk a little bit about prices here since we're at World Dairy Expo. The last milk production report, production is up, not a big surprise there. But when you take that into consideration, where do you see prices going right now in 2018?
Well, as we head through the next production report, we expect ongoing growth, as has been the case for 3.5 years. That, I think, is in the short run not so big of a deal. As we go further down the road, though, the ongoing growth in Europe and the potential growth that we have in Oceania, New Zealand, Australia will potentially compound to make matters much worse as we get into spring. But in the short run, despite the milk production growth, we also seasonally are at a time of the year where consumers are very active in the dairy space. And we expect ongoing buying of product as we head towards the holiday season and look for a potential uptick in product prices, which will translate back into some higher milk prices. So for the short run, there is some room for optimism right now. However, as we head towards a new year and get deeper into spring, I do believe that there's going to be a bit of a dark cloud over this market with all the production that'll be coming at us worldwide.
And cheese stocks right now, they're either at record levels or near record levels, even though they did dip a little bit. But it seems like those cheese prices are a lot stronger than Class 3. Why is that?
Well, we've relied heavily on strong domestic consumption and demand in the United States, and despite the large stocks, consumer demand has continued to keep close to pace with production. We've obviously seen some growth in the stocks number, but some of that too is a function of the Italian type cheeses that have come more into the mix, and as a result required more aging and necessarily meant more cheese in the cooler for longer periods of time. But there again, as we head towards fall, we look for these stocks to draw down, which is seasonally ordinary, and we're looking for that to potentially inspire a little bit of a move higher on price.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today. Thanks for meeting up with me. Once again, I'm Betsy Gibbon over here at World Dairy Expo.
Cut through the uncertainty in the markets. Give Mike a call at 608-764-0012. Agday weather, brought to you by Kawasaki and the new Mule Pro FXR side-by-side. Ride like a boss with high-end styling and rugged capability.
Welcome back to Agday, meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at the drought monitor here, we can see changes happening.
Yeah, it's getting a little worse through the middle of the country, but it continues to get better in parts of Montana and the northern plains. Now, if we go back 1 month, you'll notice what a big change there is through the middle of the country, a lot less dryness, but also how much worse it was parts of Montana and the Dakotas. So let's go week by week, and you can see as we go through time, the dry areas are expanding through the middle of the country, mostly the Mississippi Valley, Central Plains, but things are continuing to get better in the far northern Rockies and the Dakotas. So some good, some bad, I suppose. But none of this is terrible yet long term, except for a few spots in Iowa, and I think there's some spots in west central Illinois into that extreme drought area. Now, taking a look at the storm system coming across the middle of the country, this should be some very good news for those areas that are turning dry. We're going to see that system really put down some decent rains. Also, this system in the Gulf that we've been talking about the past couple of days is not going to form into a hurricane, but that's because another one is coming up from the south. We'll show you that coming up. There you can see the system moving through Nebraska, Iowa, northern Missouri. Lots of rain through that area as we head through the day today. We do have another cold front coming into the Pacific Northwest, just doesn't have a lot of moisture with it. So this area of low pressure kind of falls apart in the Gulf. The one over the northern plains continues to produce some decent areas of rain. And there comes Hurricane Nate. Now, at the moment, it's expected to be a lower level hurricane, more than likely a Category 1 as it approaches the Gulf Coast. We have to wait and see whether that hits Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, some of those areas still under the gun there. And you can see showers and thunderstorms by later tomorrow from the Great Lakes all the way down into the southern Mississippi Valley. There's the precipitation over the past 24 hours. Adding on the next 36 hours, I mean, our model is showing some areas getting 3 or 4 inches of rain from, let's say, Omaha all the way into west central portions of Michigan over the next couple of days, and some pretty good amounts across parts of Illinois, southern Iowa into Indiana as well. Snowfall really limited. You'll notice it expanding southward in western Canada into the extreme northern portions of the Rockies, but that's about it. High temperatures very warm for this time of the year south of that front. More normal north of the front. You'll notice low temperatures tonight stay pretty muggy from St. Louis to the Gulf Coast, chillier off to the northwest, and that's the same idea tomorrow. All depends on where that front is. And you can see with the jet stream, things are now starting to move a little bit. We'll see a trough dig in and weaken. The ridge tries to hold in the southeast, though, and that's going to keep things warm in that part of the country. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We'll head to Ogden, Utah, first of all. Comfortable, tons of sunshine, high of 60 degrees. Duluth, Minnesota, mixture of clouds and sunshine and cool, high of 58. And Columbia, South Carolina is going to be a warm one today. Good deal of sunshine with a high of 89.
When we come back on Farm Journal College TV, the importance of using the right hitch pins and celebrating National 4-H Week through the eyes of a parent.
Agday, brought to you by Credenz soybean seed from Bayer. Designed using smart genetics with tailored varieties to fit any field condition. Farm Journal College TV is brought to you by Instinct and N-Serve. Maximize every nitrogen application so your crops deliver the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com.
Harvest is a busy time and it usually involves a lot of moving parts and pulling equipment. Well, on Farm Journal College TV today, we're talking about hitch pin safety with Purdue's Fred Whitford.
What I'd like to do is just a couple of key points here. Because of the liabilities that we have putting any kind of trailer on the road, if you'll look over here, if we can kind of go over here,
yeah,
you can see how much trouble people go to make their homemade pins.
Right. Don't buy it, just make it.
Just
right?
Yeah, and they're not that expensive, but we just seem to like to want to weld stuff. And you can see this is just part of the collection that I have of these different pins. I mean, that's a classic. I think that's one of the ones you like.
Absolutely.
And what gets us into trouble here is, in a court of law, obviously, they're not graded. They've never been measured for stress. If I could just get growers not to do this on the highway.
Okay.
If there's an accident, I can tell you as a lawyer for the other side, I'm going to focus in on these. And if these had been graded, manufactured, then this accident would not have happened. And that's the position that I would put my farmer in. I mean,
right.
If I was that lawyer.
And even pins that are made specifically for the purpose don't always survive.
That's correct. This is a pin that had been used for 5 minutes. A brand new pin that had been used that sheared off.
Yeah. Goodness.
Now, as we look at these pins, then the key thing here is to look down here. And I always say a pin like that holds together, that's a winning pin. That's a pin that's telling you that the weight you are pulling are stressing these particular pins. And you can see the grooves and the gouges, and that's pretty natural. I've got different pieces of equipment, metal, rub, but you can see when these pins start bending, you're to the point of this thing breaking and coming loose.
Fred says be sure to check the grade of your pins, secure them so they can't pull out, and it's always a good idea to use chains. All right, celebrating National 4-H Week when we come back.
In the country, brought to you by Kubota. See the all-new Commander Pro zero-turn mower at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
All right, I'll admit it. I'm now officially a 4-H parent. My oldest, turning 9 this year, means we are a 4-H family. Now, it's not new to me. I come from a long line of 4-Hers, and as part of our first official year, we took 2 pigs to the county fair, which means this self-described cattle guy is now learning the intricacies of swine. Regardless of the ribbon count, as a parent, I can't help but feel like we won big. Our 9-year-old is learning to care for something other than himself. He's finding out what responsibility means, that animals need to be fed even when you're tired or it's dark, and nothing good can happen without a little hard work. I see these small but noticeable traits starting to percolate to the surface, and as a parent, I know it's my job to teach my kids the value of hard work, respect, and responsibility. A couple of recent studies confirm the impact of those lessons. One from the University of Minnesota found that the best predictor of a young adult's success in their mid-20s was whether they participated in chores around the home at an early age. A Harvard study found pretty much the same thing. I'm just thankful the tools my parents and grandparents used to teach these life skills are still available to me. With so many options for kids these days, it's easy to see something like 4-H get dropped, buried, or pushed to a lower rung on the ladder of importance. I challenge you, no matter what it is, that you find a way to teach that responsibility, that hard work, and find time in your schedule for them to grow in character. And you might just learn something about yourself along the way, even if it's learning to love pigs. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in and started your day with us. For Mike Hoffman, Betsy Gibbon, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Agday, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.